This podcast represents the opinions of the hosts of the Laugh Cry Club and guests on the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. And because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we share is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Laugh Cry Club. I am Joy.
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Chelsea, and if you are a human who laughs and cries, then this podcast is meant for you. Welcome.
Welcome, everybody. Hope you're well. I hope you're enjoying the show. Thank you so much for your support. You can share with a friend.
We love sharing with a friend.
Share
a friend
with a
is
friend.
so free and so nice.
Yes, and you're being a good friend by being like, maybe they need therapy, but you don't want to be like, you need therapy, but you're just sending them a podcast with 3 therapists. And it's like, it's kind of like a nice passive adjacent
It's subtle.
way.
I love this
way of being like, maybe you should listen to these 3 great therapists.
Or maybe you need to feel better about your own life and you're like, wow, my professional helper who I pay so much to see for is really just a human like me. And maybe I'm not so neurotic as I think I am. Maybe I'm just living life. Maybe it'll be validating to listen to.
It's very validating.
I mean, it could be.
At the end of the day, we just take our therapy hats off and we end up being just as wild and crazy as everyone else.
Yeah, we get real wild.
And the worst case is you laugh. Because we never want to make you cry, even though it is called the Laugh Cry Club. We mostly just want to make you laugh. Well, we actually just are laughing ourselves because it's the only way we know how to get through. And if you get to laugh, because laughing's contagious, then that would be the bonus of passing this along to a friend.
So please do it. It's a great way to
Just
support
do
our
it.
show. And every week we start off with our laughs and cries, and then we talk about a topic specific. Oh my gosh, Chelsea has a Laugh Cry Club sticker on her water bottle, and it's making me so happy. I know Rebecca gave me when we were in Vegas, and I need to go around to like when I'm on dog walks and just stick them on telephone poles. Oops, is that legal?
Yes, of
It
course.
doesn't matter if it is or not.
You could be saving a life, Joy.
In illegal behavior. So thank you guys so much for listening. We are 3 licensed therapists, and we are here to help normalize this human experience. So this week we're going to talk about values and what that means as far as how we interact with our relationships, what's important to us, how we get them, and how we identify them. And then we'll talk about our topic for next week. But to start us off, Chelsea, who is going to start with our laugh and cry?
Well, this week's Laugh and Cry is going to be one of our friends. This is somebody who's dependable, who's loving, who's kind, who's very silly. And that is going to be our Rebecca.
I knew as soon as you said silly. I love it. I accept that adjective. Oh, gosh. You know what? I was going to say I don't have any cries, but actually I did have a cry. I don't even know what it was about, but it was one of those really big ones where I was like 90 seconds. And I just let it out and cried for like 90 seconds and then carried on. But I cannot remember what it was about.
That's actually good. It like shows you like,
I know.
you just let it go. And then you're kind of like, wait, why was I sad? Yeah.
I was really upset though. But I don't know.
And maybe sometimes, audience, this is a helpful little tip. Sometimes we just need to cry because we've been storing it for so long. So it doesn't actually matter. It just matters that we got to have that cathartic release because we really need it. We're holding on to so much that sometimes we just need to cry.
Yeah, and something just like sets you off. I remember, Chelsea, in one of the first episodes, you said that you used to work with first responders and you would just tell them to like watch a sad movie to emote, even if you like couldn't really tap into like exactly what was going to make you cry. And I always think about that.
Yes, because a fun fact is if you constrict one emotion, it constricts all the other emotions. And we don't want to be
Everyone needs to remember
constricting.
that. Good reminder.
Yeah, we don't want to be constricting. So if you want joy and love, guess what? You have to feel the other feelings too. As soon as we hold it in, now we're holding in other things too. So why when we go through like horrible times, we can feel so raw. I like with cancer, I always say I'm like so high, like just high as a kite, or I'm like completely low because everything is so exposed, I guess is how I would say
exposed,
it.
yeah.
It's extreme and exposed.
It's to quote Brene Brown, we cannot selectively numb, which I hate that
Ooh,
fact.
I love that quote.
I hate that
Good.
fact, but it's true. It's the same thing. It's like, oh, I hate it. I hate that we can't selectively numb. We just can't. So, okay, Rebecca.
Yeah,
Continue.
I think that's what was going on with me, that I was kind of stuffing or not allowing myself to, there's been some lot of stressors happening, and so I think I was trying to be like, oh, you got to get through, just get through, keep going, and then it's like it just piles up, right? And then if you have the release, it feels so much better. So note to self, maybe I just need to emote when it's happening and carry on rather than not, So, yeah.
Way to go, Rebecca.
Thank
Proud
you.
of you.
Thank
Proud of those 90 seconds because I know.
Nobody likes it. Nobody
You
likes
have to
it.
coach yourself through it. That's what I did last week. I was like, just 90 seconds, just like, ah.
What's funny is Robin was here too, and so like she was hugging me, and she's like 90 seconds. So like we were just
Even
embracing, and I'm like
Robin is
sobbing.
in. Yes.
And it was so good. Yeah.
Did
Thanks,
she
Chelsea.
say that's life, baby, when it was over?
No?
Oh my God,
But
I wish you would
I
have.
do have this keychain. I have this keychain, and if you push it, it says that's
Gosh,
life,
that's
baby.
So perfect.
Is that
Yeah.
Robin saying that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how fun.
That's life, baby.
I love it.
Yeah. So occasionally when I'm at my desk, I just push it. Like if, I don't know, somebody says something, I'm just like, that's life, baby. No. So my laugh, I had so many, some of them highly inappropriate, so I'm not going to share them. But one was, I like to do talk to text, and some reason it never understands what I'm saying. And so Fritz's eye doctor called me and said, he had one of these growths removed that was benign, whatever. Good news. She thinks it's never going to come back. And so I did the talk to text to Robin, and I said, Fritz's labs were good, or, it was benign. And it came out Princess's labs were benign. And she's like looking at it like, who the fuck is Princess? And because we don't have
was a
Fritz's girlfriend.
I know, because we don't have a pet named Princess, but then she realized it was Fritz's. So anyway, that was my laugh.
Fritz the princess.
Yeah, he cost me enough like a princess, that's for sure.
That's so true.
I'm like, oh
That
gosh,
is-
I have a whole
yeah.
bank account set up in your name. So anyway, that was my laugh.
I love it. I love Fritz so much. And I'm glad that his surgery went well.
Yes, it did. He's backed himself. I'm going to pass this over to the birthday babe that has
Happy
big chick
birthday
energy.
to Chelsea. Today's
Happy
Chelsea's birthday.
Oh my gosh. I am 47 today. I'm so happy to be growing up, y'all.
You are. You're growing up. Look at you. I thought you were going to say I'm so old, but you said I'm so happy, so I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy. I'm so grateful for life. I'm so grateful for wisdom. I'm so grateful for another go at another day. So that's exciting. I think I deserve a major award.
1000% do, especially the past 3 years. You probably have been through like 20 years of life. Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel old and tired from that. So my laugh and my cry. So I'm gonna say my laugh because it's so good. But my cry, we've been talking about my husband and his tumor grew, and we didn't know if he could have surgery and all those different things. We didn't know what was going on. We had heard that the tumor had grown. We didn't know whether he was operable. So what that means is if he is not operable, then they keep you on chemo, or they try different ways to treat it. And you're never going to be cured. And it's just kind of like maintenance and longevity. The only way to cure what he has is surgery. So this has been like us holding our breath, because obviously we want to give him like the best chance possible. So we were waiting on a couple things to come back. We went up to Birmingham. It's about 5 hours away. That's where he gets treatment. And his appointment was first thing in the morning, like 8:30 in the morning. And we're just like holding our breaths, right? Like I had been like a live wire, like restless, bursting into tears easily. So we go to meet with the surgeon. We don't know whether they're going to say they can operate or not. And our surgeon comes in and he plops up on, the area where the patient sits, like the bed. Okay, so Steve's not on the bed. He's in a chair and I'm in a chair. The surgeon plops up on the bed, pulls over the doctor chair where you type on the computer, puts his feet on it. He has the cross on his forehead for Lent because it's Lent. He's got
amazing.
Yeah, he's got his t-shirt tucked into his pants and then like loafers, like he's going to go on a boat with no socks. Dr. Robbie. And he's like, hey, so great news. I think we're just going to go ahead and operate, and just goes into this like great news. We have chocolate ice cream. You just what you wanted. I mean, it was so, and so I'm like sitting there, like my eyes are wide. Steve and I are like holding hands. I'm like, okay, wait, what? So he's the tumor grew, but he's operable. So his liver. So he's explaining all the things that why he's still operable. And it's like, this is the best we're going to get. We need to move on it. And great. Does March 18th work? Yeah. Okay, perfect. See you then. Like puts it in his phone. Let me add it to my calendar. That was it. We're in and out in like 5 minutes. We walk out and I'm like, I need to sit down. And I just start sobbing. Like we are just sobbing. It was like I had been holding my breath and I cry. But this was like one of those like,
the big
oh
news.
my God.
This was the big news you were waiting for.
That relief of like having hope, sobbing. And then I couldn't stop laughing about Dr. Robbie with like his cross on his head. He's like sitting on the patient bed, using the stool, his chair
He's
for
like
his
straight
footrest.
from Mass for Ash Wednesday with his boat shoes. Like, God bless him.
Oh my gosh. And I think like those are the wild geniuses who can afford to not care about anything because they're so smart and good at what they do that they don't need to like dress the part. I love it so much. So that was my big laugh. And that was also my cry. So I'm going to pass it over to our lovely Joy.
Wow, Chelsea, I'm so, so happy. And of course, we knew this information when it happened. And I was just like, I felt the relief from you and for you guys. And I just am so happy. I'm so happy. How's Steve doing with this news? Like, is he just like himself? What's he doing?
Yeah, he went, I think, from pretty numb to like full of feeling. So I think he cried too when I was crying, but I was sobbing so much and I was like, my face was buried in his shoulder. I think he cried too, but I was just so in it. But he's been, listen, he feels terrible. He's just super sick. Everything's hard, but he's lighter and he's really, really, really hopeful. And I'm like, well, third time's a charm. This is the third liver surgery. And
well, I was going to say, what is like the recovery like after this surgery?
a couple months, probably like some draining tube, wound packing. I don't know if he's going to be wide open. They've had that before because of infection. And right now he's pretty much operating just on 46% of his liver, the good amount. So he's already having like his body temperature's off. He sweats a lot, like has like massive sweats and things like that. And so it's going to be, I don't know. They said a couple months. So whatever that looks like. And we've done this before and it's been about 2-3 months. So it's like slowly walking again, slowly moving around again. It's a whole, because you're cut so open. Yeah. But I'm not sure.
Well, I'm going to put the podcast community out for sending some prayers and recovery to go very smoothly. And we're just so full of gratitude for the good news. Okay. My laugh and my cry this week are kind of light and silly. I don't have a big cry this week, and I'm just going to be okay with that.
Do you think people cry every week?
No.
What do you all think?
I don't. And I personally don't. It's funny though, because I I look back in the past 6 months of my life, and it has been a big whirlwind of emotions with a lot of different things, like with the house and everything that we went through. And I feel, especially with spring coming, daylight savings time, the days getting longer, that really, really improves my mood. And so I've felt this like upswing of my mood just being like pretty light, and I'm just going to go with it. I'm like, wow, I feel really grateful. So I didn't really feel any sadness this past week, and like that's a win for me. But I will say my cry is of happiness because our puppy that we're raising slept through the night for the first time last night, and it was the best. When I woke up, I was like, "Oh my gosh, good girl!" I'm not going to bank that that's going to happen every night moving forward, but I will take it because I don't operate. I'm not someone who can like get by on a few hours of sleep. I just do not function. So I'm very happy about that. My laugh is kind of silly too, where I have this road bike that I haven't used. I mean, I got it in 2019. It was a really expensive road bike. At the time, I was like, I'm going to bike ride. You know, Scott was getting into it, and he's like, we could do it together. And then COVID hit, and like, granted, it's something you could do outside, but that's also the year we started puppy raising. And at the time I got the bike because like I didn't have a lot of hobbies, and like, you know, I was doing CrossFit and stuff, but like I wanted something else to do on the weekends. Fast forward to, I just never used it as much as I thought I was going to. I quite honestly don't like being on a bike on the road. It makes me anxious. So it's not like a relaxing thing for me. Granted, there's a lot of trails around here, but still, to get to a trail, normally you have to like bike there or drive there. And like, I'm one of these people that it's like, that's too much work. I just want to like get out and go for a walk. And like, there's not a lot of prep involved. So I just realized that road biking is not for her. Too much maintenance. I'm out. So I've had this bike for, you know, since 2019, rode it probably less than 20 times. So I put it on Facebook Marketplace, which I love, by the way. I really got into Facebook Marketplace for selling things. And I got this message from this cute little gal that was like, will you accept this? I'm like, sure. You know, we kind of negotiated a deal. She comes over and she has like her two sweet little kids in the car, and she takes it for a spin, and she got so excited because she's a mountain biker and she is doing like a road race in the summer. So she needed a road bike because mountain bikes are totally different. So she was super jazzed. She was so thrilled about this bike and like getting a good deal because it really is it's in great shape. Like, these bikes are not cheap. And I was excited because I was getting like a good amount of money back from something that like literally was sitting in my garage. And she gives me a hug before she left. She was so thrilled. And so another like funny part of this is my dad and I have this like kind of attachment to some of the like toys that we have. So this summer or this fall when we were living with them, I helped him put one of his motorbikes on Facebook Marketplace. The night that someone was coming to look at it, my dad was getting really nervous, and he's like, I don't know if I want to sell it. I don't know if I want to sell it. And he was like sitting in the garage with a glass of wine, nervous and hoping and praying that the guy didn't stop by to look at the bike. And it just made me laugh because I was like, fast forward with my dad, it ended up being like the cutest family with like two young boys who were so excited to have this motorbike. And it ended up working out great where my dad was able to let go of this bike. My dad has like a super nostalgic tie to this motorbike with my brother and him riding it, you know, so it was hard for him to let go. But when he saw these like little kids having a blast, but it totally reminded me of me with this bike because I was really having a hard time letting it go because it was just a big purchase for me and something that do I really want to get rid of it? But she was so happy, and she was like with her kids, and I'm like, she's a working mom and she's trying to do something nice for herself, that she gave me a hug and like was so excited and told me she was going to send me pictures from her race. It was just like this full circle heartwarming moment where I was like, oh my God, this made me think of my dad and how we're attached to things. We have like such nostalgia. And I also love when like your things go to people that like, you know, it's going to go to a good home. Is that silly? But I just find so much joy in giving away things that have meaning to you. You know, they're going to a good home. So that was my silly laugh.
That is great. That is hard, Joy, to let go of your bike.
It's like Pee Wee Herman, where he's like, you know,
I
trying
love
to
Pee
find
Wee
his
Herman.
butt.
And in the basement at the Alamo, because there is no basement at the Alamo. But okay, I got to tell you, this is what I really want to do. I have never been to the Alamo, but my dream is to go visit the Alamo, and I want to ask them where the basement is, because I'm sure they get asked all the time. But that's my dream.
I feel like that's a dream that could happen. I feel like there's a possibility that
It's just
actually
like, I think 5
make that
hours
happen.
away.
God, I would love that. And I would really hope that you record it. Yeah. So, well, good laughs and cries, friends. Let's move on to values. Now, what the heck are values? And you know what? We all live by values. We just don't know it. So, personal values, we could also say core values, how it defines you and guides your actions for decisions. Maybe you think about when you're in a relationship with someone, what's important to you at work, what type of work do you do that aligns with your values. So that could be like honesty, appreciation, assertiveness, determination. What do you guys want to start with as far as values and how we can either identify them, why they're important? Where do we want to start?
I can start with, when I'm working with individuals, values are something that are really important and they matter because it's what matters to you. And so when we're operating in a way that our values are in alignment with our mouth, like what we say, with our behaviors, with how we're showing up in the world, to me, it really keeps us from falling into self-doubt, falling into anxiety, falling into like that neurotic, negative self-talk, because you're showing up with what you know to be true. And sometimes our life has to explode and we have to go through really hard things in order to keep kind of unpeeling the layers to get to what actually matters to us. But that's some of the work that I do with individuals that I work with. It's at the forefront of the why. Why does this matter? We can say we care about something or something matters to us, but if it doesn't really, then we're just kind of out of sorts. If it matters to your parents, but not to you, that's not going to be very helpful for the person who's living their life.
It makes me think of last week we were talking about the life lessons that we've learned. I remember Rebecca said something really poignant around like loyalty. Loyalty is really big to you. Like that is one of your values. And so how do you know that's your value? Probably when you have a very strong feeling towards it. Honesty is a big one for me. If I ever get a like whiff of someone not being honest, I'm like, And so I think that these are really important things that it's helpful to know about yourself because then you can really navigate your relationships more and evaluate them. So maybe you have a friend that doesn't treat you well. Like I was talking about last week where I was like, why did I keep going back to that person? Well, okay, I need to just kind of accept that this person isn't living into my values. I would never treat someone that way. But it's important to define that and really stick to that because back to what you said last week too, Chelsea, is like, then you don't abandon yourself. That's why it's important. Because if you continue to go back to those values and you're evaluating whether it be with your job, with friendships, with a partnership, relationships, family, then you're not abandoning yourself. So it may seem kind of like a buzzword or things that are just like, oh, it's just values. But I really think that's so much at the root of your core of your being, of how you operate.
You all are kind of really talking about what's meaningful to you, what drives you in your actions. My question is, how do we define these? Or like, how do we even get to know, like, some people have a list. Like I have a list of what my values are. How do we get to that point that we can just say, oh, these are my core values?
Right. And I think they probably shift and change.
They do. They do.
There's so many. But, you could Google these online and just like look at a whole list. I mean, some of you can think about personal values, core values, community values. There's different. Yeah, there you go. Rebecca has a huge list that she's holding up. So
I have a huge list, yes.
Yeah, I mean, work probably, if you have a job that talks about this, they'll say, like, what are our values? Our values are, like, when you're applying for a job, typically they have their values listed on there because you want to see what aligns with your values. And so I just think that this is something that we don't really think about. And it's so interesting if you kind of really break it down of, like, what your values are, then it kind of gives you a little bit of a compass of where to go. Maybe if you're feeling lost, I'm trying to think right now, like, let's pretend that I have a friend who's, like, really focused on wealth. That's not a huge value for me. So we may have some like disconnect there. It's not to say you can't be friends with someone who values wealth, but it's automatically for me, I'm going to, even just talking about it, I'm like, oh, I could already tell like, that's not a person I really, I'm going to align with. If like, that's the only thing is they're like focused on making gobs and gobs of money. There's nothing wrong with that. But like, I have different values in the sense of like, I would not want to be talking about that 24/7. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Totally. So, Joy, you're talking about we can find a list online. That's what I did. We can put the link to our show notes also. But there's other things like Brene Brown has a Dare to Lead list of values you can find online. Or there's the character survey that Chelsea and I are familiar with because we've taken it before in a coaching class, but that's really about your values and action. So you can take that for free as well. And so we'll definitely link all this stuff to the show notes. But I'm curious, you all have talked a little bit about your values. Would you want to share more about what your values are?
I can share when I know when I'm out of alignment with my values, when I feel out of balance. And so this is something that's been continual my entire life between working and home life, where now it feels balanced. But there was so many years earlier in my career in my 30s where I felt like I wasn't getting home right. I was crushing it at work, but home was not doing well. And one of my values is, that family is really the most important. I would say family and loved ones because my friends are also my chosen family, but that is a really important thing to me. And I was out of alignment because I felt like here I am helping other people's kids. I'm helping other people's marriages. I'm helping all these other ways, being of service, which is a value of mine. But then when I get home, there's nothing left for my family. And so I was really out of balance. And so it took me a long time to learn how to say no. So I would say my values help me with my boundaries, like how to say no, I'm taking this off my plate. Or if I turn off my phone, I'm actually turning off my phone, being really present, like little behaviors that connect. So I would say, time, love, and family. Those are, when I think of love, I think of being compassionate. I think of connection. I think of my actions matching the way that I want to show up in the world, right? I want other people to give me grace. So I'm going to be graceful to people and kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. So we can look at these kind of in a big way. And again, I'm going back to like your imbalance. What's off? What matters to you that feels imbalanced, and then crossing it over. And then you can kind of pick some. So for me, that was time, family, love. Those have stayed true for years now, because once I could figure that out, it became really easy to say, no, I can't do that because my time is really valuable and I need to be putting time into, if I'm at work, I'm at work. If I'm at home, I'm at home, but I can't have those. I can't have one taking over the other. And so we start to break them down into behaviors. And that's really where I say we can show up and be heart and head connected. Our thoughts and our feelings are matching. And then in turn, our behaviors are showing up in a way that's aligned. And that becomes easier for people. People go, oh, I feel so bad. I'm taking off work. And it's like, okay, well, your value is to spend quality time and have date night with your husband on Fridays. You're going to have to end work on time because that's something that matters to you. And then they go, oh, it does matter. And it's like, okay, so that becomes a lot easier, right? Because you're looking at the bigger picture. You're not so hyper focused on, right, I guess, the pull.
Yeah, I really love the balance. That's such a good example. The things that come to me, like I said, honesty. I know that I feel big feelings if I feel like people aren't being honest. Meaningful work is a big one. I think just becoming a therapist, I've always thought about giving back to the world. How can I contribute to the world? That's why I like doing podcasts. That's why I like volunteering. So if I had a job, and I think most people can I think everyone's different in terms of like, some people are just like, I just want to get this job done so I can like go home and focus on my family. I have to have like an investment in knowing that I'm making a difference in order for me to like actually feel satisfied. It's just ingrained in me. So that's a big one, because I'll notice that if I feel like my wheels are spinning, I am so sad and just like depressed.
So Joy, I'm going to interrupt, because what you're talking about, that could go into the value of time, right? So if I'm spinning my wheels at work, then I'm wasting my time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I want to like kind of give an example. And then the honesty part that you mentioned, if being honest, and I would connect that to authenticity, if I'm working at a place where I feel like I can't be honest and I can't be truthful, that might not align with your values. If you're in a relationship and you're stepping on eggshells, that may not align with your values. So I just want to call those kind of out for examples, because I think people go like values and it just feels so much.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And at the previous job that I was at, I felt like there was a lot of talking behind people's back. and gossip, and that just made me feel awful. I hated it because I experienced that at like previous jobs, and I remember thinking like, I'm never gonna get involved in that. That just feels icky to me, and it just I have no interest in it. And when that started happening, I remember being like, oh no, here it is again. How do I stay away from it? And it just was so persistent. Thank goodness I'm no longer at that job. But like, that's a really good point of like, that's an example of why I was starting to feel like that. And you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to that. And the third one, just as an example, would be respect. Respect, I notice, is a really big one. If I see anyone being disrespectful out in the wild, people who have like massive road rage, or I'm like, I just get so sad. And especially like the state of the world right now, I feel like there's just disrespect everywhere, which is, I have to be very careful of how I consume the news so I don't crawl into a hole every day. So I'm really glad you gave those examples. It's a great way for people to kind of think about it, of how they act in the world. Yeah.
And those two, the disrespect and the gossip, I would say the value that goes with that would be kindness. So if I'm being kind, I'm not talking about somebody else in a mean way behind their back.
Right.
If I'm being kind, I'm not being disrespectful to anybody.
Yeah,
right. And so
right.
we can kind of look at it. And that's the thing is people go, someone's a jerk to you and you know, snap back and it feels good for about 30 seconds. And then if it doesn't align with your values, it comes back where you're like, oh my gosh, what if that person was having a bad day? What if, you know, I didn't really like the way. So this doesn't matter what other people do. This matters about what we do and how we respond. That's where the values become so important. There's such a big thing that it's like you can't, when you act out of alignment with your values, it's like immediately wanting to get back to what matters to you.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
your values should guide your decisions in life and your behaviors. Because
100%.
if you are doing things in life and it's just not feeling great or working for you, take a second. What are my values? Because I bet you 100% you're not aligned.
And you feel it. I love that you said that, because you feel it. Like if you act in a way that's out of alignment, you're like, oh, I feel so bad.
Yeah, you
Like,
feel it
immediately.
first. Yeah, or if you're like, say, at a job or something, and it's like you're feeling a certain way. It's like, okay, my values are no longer aligning with this, and so you'll feel it before you even recognize it.
Yeah. And once you feel it, it is so uncomfortable. So that's when you're in that discomfort. That's why I say sometimes it's the explosions in life that happen where you start looking, you're like, all these things I thought that matter don't actually matter at all. That's, you know, what really matters is like right here. I can give an example of that when I say family. You know, before my husband was diagnosed with cancer, him and I were split up. And even when we were split up, we were always friends. And I was like, you're my family. If anything ever happened, like we both have always had that. We just could not, our marriage just was not working. When he got sick, it was really easy for me to show up because my value was he's my family. Like it doesn't matter, you know, if I'm dating someone, he's dating somebody, whatever's going on, whatever, like this is my family and I'm here to be with you and take care of you because you're the father of my children and I love you as a human. And, you know, and I remember him asking me, does this mean we're back together? And I was like, well, no, absolutely not. You know, we still have to fix. I was like, no, we still have we had so much work to do. And luckily, you know, this cancer stripped away all the shit that doesn't matter. And it allowed us to be the most vulnerable we've ever been, which allowed us to have now this really healthy, beautiful marriage now where it's been, you know, 3 years of us really being healthy. But when he got sick, it was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then it was like, I need to be there. He's my family. Like so again, your values help to guide those decisions because it's like, you're not just talking and saying, oh yeah, I'll be there if you need me. Like you're actually doing the thing of what it is that matters to you. If you say honesty is your value, that means you have to speak truth, even when it's hard, right? You have to say the thing, even when it's uncomfortable. So values don't make your life any more comfortable, y'all. I wish I did.
It makes me think of last week when you were talking about your marriage, that you were like, I knew that I was like out of alignment, but you were just pushing for someone else's value. And that's like such a good example too of like, I'm sure there's people out there that are just like, quote unquote, trying to make it work. But at the end of the day, like you got to be honest with yourself, and that can be so scary. I'm not saying like just get in line with your values, but it's because it's hard work. But I know that happens, and I think it's just like that whole, it'll speak to you in a whisper, and then eventually it'll just like, you'll be hit in the face with reality if you don't hear the lesson, if you don't hear the whisper right away. But I just want to acknowledge it's not easy.
I will say though, I feel like when you get really confident in what your core values are, it's so much easier. Like
Yes.
you don't end up abandoning yourself.
Yes.
Because you're like, no, I
don't put up with
know
it.
what these are. And so
Yeah.
I feel like, oh, maybe a lot of people aren't in touch with them, like can't name them possibly. It's like, so they're walking around with all these feelings.
Maybe you need to come up with your mission statement values, listeners, and really be clear about what you stand for, and, you know, get to that point where you're like, this is what I stand for, these are my values, and I will not budge, and I will not abandon myself.
And it can be great to start off with just like 3. Like I hold on to really probably 5. That is, you know, my other one would be to always sweep my side of the street, own my shit. I hate it, but it's true. Even if it's a bike lane, like own up to when you mess up, when you hurt someone's feelings, whatever. And then the honesty one, to clear is kind. And that's something that's really, really important. And that was it too, right? When I think about Steve and I and my husband, when we split up, it was like I had to be clear about that, right? Like this, I'm not going to abandon myself. We have stuff that we need to work through. You know, he was going back on tour. Obviously, I was like, we're not going to really work through it while you're on tour. This isn't going to really be conducive. And so it's making those hard decisions, knowing that you're holding on to the thing that actually matters. And that's when I say, like, I had anxiety on and off throughout my life, but there's not a lot of anxiety when you're holding on to your values, because when you come back to the truth, you're like, okay, this is not
relief.
Yeah, it's like, it's not going to not be hard. It's not going to not be uncomfortable, but there is a relief that comes from showing up heart and head connected. Such a relief. And they can change, you know, things in life can change. I don't know. The older I get now, I just think I'm kind of stuck with what I am. But I would say that, you know, when you have kids, that might change. If you get married, that might change. If you're in a different job, like there's different things in your life that can change where you're putting your time, energy, effort, emotions, all of that. And so they can't be flexible. But let's go into like 3 to 5 and then see, am I giving enough time to these things? Is my behavior aligning with them? Just pick one to start with and see what happens.
Yeah, I would say that they do change. I did I sat down probably, 7 years ago with like a list and went through it and came up with 5 core values. And I did it again over the weekend. And I mean, a few of them have shifted for me. There's a few that remain the same, but a few shifted, which I thought was interesting.
We're always evolving and growing and learning.
Oh, that reminds me of this quote that I read, and it said, I'm going to get it wrong, but it said something like, I'm going to mess it up. It was something about, you're not the same person that you were a year ago, or like, I'm glad I'm not the same person that I was a year ago, because if we're not learning and growing, then we're not shedding the layers that need to be shed. Yeah. And you know, that basically we need to have flexibility to change our mind. When we get new information and we learn new things, our mind can change. We have to be open to changing our mind. So that would be the summary in a more concise way. We have to be open to changing our minds about things.
It's a good thing to think about, especially in the world we live in. I feel like right now it has been just very divisive, to where I think if we were all a little bit more open-minded and curious, back to like Rebecca approaching things with curiosity, where I just think we would, just those small shifts would do a lot for us, for our mental health, for our relationships. So give it a thought, listeners. Let us know what you think. And if you've had any great insights after listening to this episode, we'd love to hear them. So next week, we are going to be talking about ADHD. This is such a hot topic. It is all over the TikTok. People are posting about it all the time. So we're going to talk about ADHD. So tune in next week. And as a reminder, you can reach us laughcryclub@gmail.com with any questions you have, any topic ideas, anything you want us to address. If you want to ask 3 therapists, might as well get some free therapy out of it. Just kidding. We won't be your therapist, but we will answer your questions. Free advice, let's say that. Follow us on social at Laugh Cry Club. We're so grateful that you spend the time with us and just support us by listening and sharing with friends. Cannot thank you enough. And we will see you next week. Thank you, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
That's life, baby.